I'm with George Rishmawi from Masar Ibrahim Al Khalil. Now, George, what is Masar Ibrahim Al Khalil?
Masar Ibrahim, it literally means the Abraham Path, which is a community-based trail, the longest in the West Bank, 330 kilometers, that we have been developing community-based tourism across the West Bank and all over the country.
And when were you started as an organization, and why were you started?
We have started working, developing the trail as an organization 10 years ago. So the aim of our existence at the beginning was to develop the Abraham Path or the Masar Ibrahim. That's the brand in Arabic. So we put together, then we have now strategized in developing community-based tourism. The aim is creating jobs in rural communities, especially marginalized areas, by enabling people to get different types of skills so they can help them to find jobs. And as well, Palestine is attractive for so many people to come and visit for religious and adventure and different types of reasons, and food, landscape. So many people would like to visit this country. So therefore, we have developed a new way of visiting the country, and this is a trend today in the world.
Would this be a trail that Abraham would have walked?
Nobody knows where Abraham walked, but there is a lot of oral history about Abraham in Palestine. First of all, there is a lot of oral history in many of the villages about Abraham. So we have researched if Abraham have walked between the Canaanite city kingdoms 4,000 years ago. And this is how the trail was designed, basically connecting between different Canaanite kingdoms where possibly Abraham could have walked. There is a main there is a main road that in the West Bank that we call the Patriarch Route. The Patriarch Route related to Abraham, but it's Route 60 today. It's lots of traffic, lots of cars, and lots of Israeli illegal settlements.
And what can people see as they go on the hiking trail?
What can they see? People can see, first of all, amazing, beautiful landscape, 5 different landscapes in this very small area. This is unusual. People can see very beautiful nature of flora and fauna. The most important thing is beautiful Palestinian villages with beautiful people, very hospitable. So people can see and meet Abraham along the way all the time and enjoy hospitality of the Palestinian people that normally is not envisioned in the Western media. So people get to see a human face of the people of Palestine, how we live our lives, who we are, what do we eat, how do we go to weddings, how do we go to funerals, how do we do everything. So just to see how our daily life is. And we are inviting people to be our guests, not our tourists, our guests, so to share this type of life with us.
Do people get to see the great Palestinian heritage as they walk along the trail?
The Palestinian cultural heritage is amazing. It's so beautiful and so enriched and rooted in the ground for thousands of years. And people get to see it. They get to see the link from thousands of years up till today. And that what makes us Palestinians is that we inherit all cultures and civilizations from thousands of years until today, including diversity of religions.
And why is it important for people to see Palestinian heritage?
It is so important because, first of all, for a Christian audience who come to visit Palestine for pilgrimage reasons, first of all, the Bible, people can understand their Bible by actually visiting and seeing it. Secondly, the image of Palestinians that we are mad at the occupation and so on. No, we are genuinely happy. We are hospitable. We like to have visitors and come to visit our homes. It is so important to see how diverse we are and how much we are linked with our cultural heritage. We are totally linked with our cultural heritage in terms of that we inherited it all. We inherit Christianity, Judaism, Islam. We inherit all the religions from the past. It is still in effect in our lives until today.
And what sort of wildlife can people see on the hike?
In Palestine, we have 2,500 endemic species, more than the UK, by the way. Due to the diversity of the landscape, due to the weather of this area. So Palestine weather, Palestine is called the Four Seasons country. When you have a country with very detailed four seasons, where you can see and experience the four seasons, that creates diversity in flora and fauna. So in terms of wildlife, people can see beautiful flowers, different types of trees, bird migration, because Palestine is the main passage for bird migration coming from Europe and Asia all the way to Africa. So millions of birds travel through Palestine. So in the Jordan Valley, it's the most beautiful area for bird migration and for bird watching and stuff like that.
Are there a lot of cultural buildings on the trail?
The Palestinian cultural heritage in terms of architecture is very rich. So there are, for example, in the town of Sebastia, north of Nablus, we use a hall for event we call the Crusaders Hall. In this Crusaders Hall, the foundation is Roman, and the top part is Crusader and still in use. Most of the old cities and buildings that you can see are from Ottoman times. There are some from Mamluk times and time of Salah ad-Din. So we are still having buildings that are centuries old that we are still used. Like I know in England, people like to see Victorian homes. Most of the buildings, the old buildings in the old cities are older than Victorian homes. So then it's very interesting. So if you are walking in Hebron, you might see buildings that are few hundred years old. In Bethlehem, in Nablus, in most of the towns. So we have a very beautiful architecture. The architecture reflects the way we live our life. When you are walking in the old cities, you can see these beautiful arches that connect buildings, supporting the buildings from both sides, and enabling buildings to expand on top of next to each other. The way we live our extended families, the way we live all together within the same area. So you might go to one house, you can find at least 3 generations of people. We are still living this way, where the extended family is still living together. Where am I living now? We are 3 generations living together. 11 households, we live together in a small space until today. So these are how the old cities are connected. In the old cities, you might see as well the public areas, because there was no television. So these public areas are a storytelling area where the people used to have their conflict resolution, where they used to have a place for evening events, or a place where they used to have for their community meetings. So where all people used to come and sit and take their decisions about different issues related to the community. This is a very simple life that you can still see in parts of in the West Bank today. Now, hopefully, there is a movement in the country in restoring all of these old buildings, and it's very expensive. It's not cheap to restore and keep the cultural heritage alive.
Mm-hmm. Is the trail just for tourists, or can locals get involved as well?
80% of the people walk on the trail are Palestinians. Yes, and sustainability of the trail comes from the Palestinians, because Palestinians are walking the trail for the first time. In the past 4 years, we have helped creating a movement where people can see that it's good to go and visit, and it's nice, and you can do it, and everybody can do it. So now, every weekend, there are thousands of people go and walk around in their own country. Which is, for us, this is what we really want to see. This is where you discharge a lot of negative energies. This is where you get to meet your own country. This is where you can do something really positive. It is positive for Palestinians to go out and walk in the road. So we hope this is reflecting on positive messaging to the Palestinian community.
Now you launched a special passport. Tell us a bit about that.
Of course, that like any other trail in the world, we have passports. A passport that shows you, it gives you 2 types of information. The first information that it shows you the distances between different localities while you are walking, and so you'll start collecting stamps, like along the Camino de Santiago, for example, and the stamps show you your achievement, which is also very interesting, that you are reflecting your achievements in a passport that shows that you have traveled all of these areas. The passport has been very successful. We sell the passport for 5 shekels, and 2 shekels will go to the community, and 3 will come back to us to reproduce.
And you've had a photo exhibition in Hebron University. Tell us a bit about that.
We had lots of photo exhibitions in Hebron and Najah and different. We are encouraged just to encourage the local community in doing two things. The first thing, to understand what a trail means, because it's a new idea that you have a trail that is GPS, waymarked, and panels and so on. And then the idea is that we encourage people still to go out and walk, and this will help creating jobs for the local marginalized communities and so on. Even it's when Palestinians are visiting, it's the margin of income is way low for the Palestinian communities, but it is better than nothing. But when internationals spend more money, with the local communities.
Yeah. And you won an award by National Geographic. Tell us a bit about that.
About 4 years ago, National Geographic selected, they look at new trails. So they selected us as best new trail. So this was by a British journalist who came and visited 10 different trails in the world, and he selected us as number one. That was very good for us. So we're very, very happy about it. Of course, to be a new trail, we still have a long way to go in terms of development. Developing a trail in Europe, it took a long time, and now we have French partners that are passing us information from the Alps and crossing Alps for a long time, that we have been using all of these expertise in developing a trail here. But it takes time as well. It takes time as well for tour operators to sell such a destination. It takes time for also the local communities to understand the needs of travelers and so on. But this is an ongoing process, and the curve is going higher and higher.
Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit about workshops that you do.
We organize a lot of capacity building workshops with different rural communities in different areas, but we also organize a lot of information workshops all over the world and in the West Bank. Next month we will have what we call trail managers training. We will be working with all the local authorities along the trail in raising their capacities in managing a trail. What does it mean to manage a trail? And how they can manage it, because we are leading this process as an NGO, but yet this is the role of the local authorities to develop it on the ground, because this is their own local community. So we are building these capacities as we go.
And are you making a difference in the community?
Of course, we are making a difference in the lives of many people. There are many people right now that they are promoting themselves and they are connecting with the world in their own, due to the existence on Masar Ibrahim. So we are making a difference in the lives of many people, which I am very happy with. Now, in the future, our role will be different. We'll be focused on marketing and quality control. That's basically the idea that we have. We are now developers. We do the marketing and we do the quality control and we do the development. We develop the capacities, and we're still working on all of this at the same time. Our role will change. So it is very important that we continue this, so then it's going to be an ongoing process on its own. So this is when we need to take it to the level of its own sustainability.
And what's your prayer for the future of the trail?
Thousands of people coming to see. Well, we do pray that God opens the eyes of so many people that they can come to Palestine and visit in an ethical and responsible way, in a way that with every penny they pay, it makes a difference in somebody else's life. Well, and then they can learn about it firsthand. They can meet the people that are on God's creation, not just meeting the dead stones. The dead stones, yes, it's God's creation, but it's the living church is what people need to meet. And I mean the living church here is it's the living people, the living stones that we can learn from each other, and as if we're all on God's image and creation.
And your website for people who'd like to know more?
Our website is www.masaribrahim.ps, MasarIbrahim.ps.
Okay, George, thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend.